Listening Library presents The Forbidden Room by Nicki Pau Preto. Narrated by Emily Marso. To the next generation of magical delinquents. Brianna, Ella, Alexander, Everett, Oliver, and Carlitos. The 6 official Magecraft categories, updated and expanded as defined by the Worldwide Magecraft School Board, in association with the Worldwide Magecraft Coalition. Established 1695. Conjurer. Definition: able to summon elements or objects and manipulate them, including telekinesis and teleportation. Specializations: earth, air, fire, water, objects. Caster. Definition: able to alter the way something is perceived or how it behaves, or change something into something else. Specializations: illusions, transformations, transfigurations. Chemist. Definition: able to sense and detect ingredients, or influence the growth of vegetation. Specializations: potions, poisons, plants. Clairvoyant. Definition: able to see and interact with the unseen, including the dead, the future, and the minds of others. Specializations: mediumship, precognition, extrasensory perception. Charisma. Definition: able to control, cajole, and communicate with animals or people. Specializations: taming, influencing. Chameleon. Definition: able to physically alter themselves in relation to the world around them. Specializations: shapeshifting, enhancing, collecting. 1. Watering plants and feeding typewriters. Vin Lucas stood ready for battle. She held her trusted spray bottle in one hand, and in the other, a certain tempestuous fire sprite tucked safely inside a mason jar. "Are you sure you're up for this?" she asked, her gaze fixed on the foe before them.
"Let me at 'em!"
Brucifer cried, crackling with intensity. Vin wavered. She had promised her friend Gilly that she would water her plants while she was visiting home over the winter break. It had seemed a simple request at the time, but Vin had forgotten who and what she was dealing with. Gilly was a delinquent-level water conjurer, which in her case meant she could control water and water plants and animals. Her bedroom was filled with them, and unlike your common goldfish or potted fern, these underwater critters and creeping vines apparently had a vicious streak. While feeding the fish had been easy enough, they couldn't leave their bowls after all. The plants were far more difficult. Not only were some of them taller than Vin, but they were mobile, aggressively swaying their stalks and stems, and shooting all manner of thorny tendrils at her. "You'd think they didn't want to be watered," Vin panted, dodging the fronds of a particularly hostile monstera. "Intruder," Brucifer said simply, and Vin could almost hear Araminta's encyclopedic knowledge of magic filling her head. "Magical flora are known to be territorial. Mages used to plant them outside their homes to ward off attack and alert the occupants of trespassers." "I was invited," Vin argued. She turned to the nearest plant, spritzing its leaves before they could throttle her. "I am a guest!" Unsurprisingly, the water did not deter the plant's increasingly ferocious attacks.
"Is not listening,"
Brucifer observed. "Okay. Get ready," Vin said. unscrewing his jar. Since water didn't work, it was time they tried something a little hotter.
Yes!
He said excitedly. The instant the lid was off, Brucifer burst from the jar. He zoomed through the air, much like he had when they'd first met, and he was trying to set Vin's bedroom on fire. But this time, everywhere he went, plants shriveled and vines recoiled. Vin swore even the flowers returned to their buds, the steadily encroaching plant life shrinking before his fiery threat. It was dangerous, but effective. Expelling a great breath, Vin put down the spray bottle and lifted the watering can. The nearest plant trembled. "Don't even think about it," she warned. Brucifer crackled nearby, and the quivering branches stilled. 15 minutes later, Vin closed Gilly's door behind her, dirt smeared on her nose, and leaves in her hair. She carried Brucifer in his jar once more as they made their way down the empty hall. "I'm sure the others will be easier," she said optimistically. She was wrong. Araminta Singh was a caster who used her perfectionism and attention to detail to weave stunning illusions. While she was clean, organized, and always on top of things, you had to be when you were a straight-A student who ran the underground homework trade and the school's black market. Her twin brother, Theo, was, well, not. He was funny and charismatic, and though his conjurer magic was useful when it came to duplicating test answer keys, he wasn't the best student. And so, when the pair of them had left Vin their requests to handle over the break, the tasks had been just as different as they were. In addition to her illicit extracurricular activities, Araminta also ran First Word Weekly, the Last Hope student newspaper. Vin had assumed there would be no issues over the break since there would be no students to read it, but apparently there were other concerns to attend to. "I have to feed the typewriters?" Vin had asked skeptically the day her friends departed for home.
You don't want them to starve, do you?
Gilly asked reasonably. "They're enchanted," Araminta explained. "And if they don't have a story to break, they can get a little..."
Hungry?
asked Gilly. "Violent?" asked Theo, grinning. Araminta considered. "Temperamental. But it's no big deal. You just need to give them something to chew on." Vin did as instructed, slipping into the First Word Weekly offices on the second floor. The room was dark and deserted, but the instant she turned on the lights, the space filled with the sound of clacking typewriter keys. Vin hastened forward, putting Brucifer on a table and taking up a roll of paper from a side cabinet. The sprite's attention fixed on the flammable fibers, and Vin was glad, suddenly, that she continued to carry him around the school inside his jar. Just in case. She approached the nearest typewriter warily, and though it shot a spool of ribbon at her, tight bars rattling menacingly, it eventually settled down when she placed the edge of the roll into the paper tray. When she reached for the knob to feed it through, the machine sprang to life once more, sucking the paper out of her hands and around the roller in the blink of an eye. The keys started up again, and Vin leaned forward to read a rather melodramatic editorial about the typewriter's search for meaning and paper in this cruel, technology-obsessed world. Shaking her head, Vin fed the rest of the typewriters and closed the door on the sound of typing keys and rustling paper. Her third and final task for the day had come from Theo, and his request was as simple as it was ominous. Apparently, he'd lost one of Mrs. Allen's magically grown pomegranates somewhere in...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?